The story begins many centuries ago. Back then, if people even suspected a woman of practicing dark magic, she would be labeled a witch, locked up, and later executed in front of everyone. A man holding a religious book would read from it and announce punishments based on what was written inside. Some women who had only practiced small rituals admitted their mistakes and begged for mercy. But one witch, who was blind in one eye, looked at the man and cursed him, saying he would burn in hell. The man showed no reaction to her words and immediately ordered all three women to be executed. The witches were hanged from a bridge and then dropped into the water below. After the task was done, as the soldiers began to leave, the priest reminded them that according to the book, the bodies had to be pulled back out and properly buried so they could never return. One of the soldiers laughed and said he was sure they were already dead and no one ever comes back after that. But the priest felt uneasy. To complete the ritual, he returned to the bridge at midnight and began pulling the bodies out one by one while reciting prayers. He carried on bravely, even though one of the bodies started moving in a disturbing way. When he tried to pull up a last witch, it took a lot of strength and he couldn't manage it. Instead, he lost his balance and fell into the water. Before the evil force could harm him, he somehow managed to escape and climbed back onto the bridge. He quickly opened the book, searching for a prayer that could protect him, but he didn't have much time. The spirit of the witch rose out of the water and used her power to burn the book. Then she killed the priest in the same way he had tried to kill them. The story then moves forward a few years, where preparations for war are underway. Among thousands of soldiers, a warrior named Behman and his friend Felson joke with each other about who will defeat more enemies. Soon the battle begins. Both of them are highly skilled fighters. Over the next several years, they fight in many battles together and keep winning against those who oppose their faith. Their war, fought in the name of God, continues through all conditions, and they are always ready to face their enemies. After many years, in one battle, their army attacks a city called Smyrna. In the chaos, they fail to recognize who the real enemies are, and Behman ends up killing a woman with his sword. Soon they realized that their army had slaughtered innocent people in an unarmed city. The next morning, Behman questions the church leaders about this sin against women and children. One of the leaders replies that he only follows God's command. Hearing this, Behman starts to doubt whether God truly supports such actions. After a brief argument, Behman quietly leaves with his friend, knowing they cannot harm a man sent by the church. He makes it clear that he will no longer fight for them. About a month later, the two enter a house while searching for shelter. The place is empty at first, but after looking around, they find a dead couple lying on a bed, their bodies covered in painful sores. Realizing it might be a dangerous illness, they leave immediately and burn the house behind them. Soon after, they spot another town with hundreds of crows above it. Behman wants to go in to find some food and supplies, but his friend feels uneasy and thinks it might not be safe. Still, because they have no other choice, they decide to enter. Inside, they see that the entire town is suffering from a deadly plague. A deadly plague has spread everywhere, and there is no cure for it.
He was arranging feed for the horses when a young boy tried to help him, and during that moment, his sword slipped from his hand. The shop owner noticed the symbol engraved on the sword. Worried about being recognized, he and Felson quickly decided to leave the place. But before they could get far, a group of soldiers surrounded them from all sides. At first, both warriors fought with great skill, holding their ground, but soon they realized that several archers had taken position, aiming directly at them. The two friends finally dropped their weapons and surrendered. They were taken into custody. Just then, a man named de Belzac, who worked for the church, stepped in and stopped the soldiers. He carefully examined the mark on their sword and then took them into another room. There, a priest suffering from the plague explained that the sickness was actually a curse sent from hell by a dark witch. He said that they had captured such a witch in the city, and she needed to be taken to a sacred monastery where the last copy of Solomon's book existed. According to him, only the prayers from that book could end the curse. Behman questioned why they needed his help for this task. The priest explained that most of the church's soldiers had already been affected by the plague, and many had died. He also said that de Belzac and Johann would go along with them on the journey. but Behman refused. He made it clear that he no longer worked for the church and had no intention of helping them. Because of this decision, both he and his friend were thrown into prison. Inside, he saw the woman they were calling a witch, but she didn't look like one at all. Felson joked that refusing the church would only bring them more trouble. Later, Behman awoke to the sound of the woman crying. He noticed deep whip marks all over her body. Seeing her in that condition changed something in him, and he finally agreed to help fulfill the church's request. As they planned their route to the monastery, Johann warned them about a forest path. He said it was the shortest, but extremely dangerous. No one who had taken that route had ever returned. Behman asked if anyone had ever successfully reached the monastery. In response, de Belzac took them to meet a man named Hagamar, who knew the Rasta well, but was currently locked in prison for fraud. Behman offered him freedom and forgiveness in exchange for guiding them to the monastery. Hagamar quickly agreed to the deal. Meanwhile, the priest mixed sleeping pills into the woman's food so they could move her without resistance. But as soon as he got close to her, she suddenly attacked him. Behman and the others stepped in, restrained her, and struck her to make her unconscious. After that, they placed her inside a cage, and their journey toward the monastery began. At the same time, we see that the main priest dies in his room. During the journey, Johann asked the priest about the girl, questioning whether she was truly a witch and what proof they had. She didn't seem like one at all. De Belzac explained that the girl had been wandering alone, speaking strangely, and about 15 days after her arrival, the plague began spreading across the city. Similar reports were coming from other places too, everywhere she had been seen. Johann disagreed and said that the girl had never been in his village, yet the plague had still spread there. This raised doubts. Meanwhile, Behman and Felson started to feel like someone was following them. To confirm this, they set up a trap. Soon, the person chasing them was caught. It turned out to be a young boy who introduced himself as K. He said he wanted to become a warrior like them and believed that joining their journey to the monastery would prove he was no longer just a child. Felson laughed and told him to go back, calling him a kid, but the boy challenged him to a sword fight. Felson, being a skilled and experienced warrior who had fought many battles, accepted the challenge, ready to teach him a lesson.
He defeated K badly, making sure to break his confidence. Stepping in, Behman stopped the fight and said they should take the boy along since he had already come this far from home. After sunset, when Behman came to give food to the girl, she started talking in a way that pulled him closer. He asked her if the priest was the one who had whipped her. She nodded and said she didn't want to die. There was clear fear in her eyes. She explained how, in her village, an innocent girl had been accused of being a witch and thrown into the water. She somehow survived, but later they burned her alive. Hearing this, Behman promised that she would get a fair chance to prove she was innocent and that she would not face such a cruel death. When he returned to the group, de Belzac warned him to stay away from the girl, saying she could manipulate his mind and confuse him. Still, someone had to guard her through the night. Johann took the first watch, but soon the priest arrived and told him to rest while he handled it. As Johann walked away, the girl began crying and begged him not to leave her alone. Feeling uneasy, Johann turned back and went closer to her. Suddenly, she grabbed him by the neck. The priest rushed in to save Johann, but the girl forced the priest's own cross into his hand. By the time the others heard the noise and arrived, she had already escaped. While searching for her, they reached a nearby village where they spotted a woman running. But when they caught up, they realized it wasn't her. Then they noticed someone else running in another direction and chased after that figure. This led them into a narrow path that opened into a small maze-like area. Inside, they found several dead bodies lying together, already decaying. It looked like these people had died from the same disease. At the same time, Johann started hearing the voice of his dead daughter and began following it. When he reached the source, Kay tried to wake him and bring him back to his senses, but Johann kept calling out his daughter's name. In fear, Kay ended up driving his sword into Johann's chest. When the others arrived, Kay explained everything that had happened. Meanwhile, Felson found the girl again, still trying to escape. When they caught her, she said she had only tried to escape because she was scared. She begged them not to take her to the monastery, saying they would kill her there. They locked her back in the cage and continued their journey. The next morning, they prayed for Johann's soul. After that, de Belzac told Behman that they had lost their companion because of the girl and warned everyone to be careful, as she could hear everything and use their weaknesses against them. Behman didn't pay much attention to this. Noticing that, the girl gave a faint smile toward the priest, and they moved forward. The following day, they reached an old bridge that looked like it could collapse at any moment. Behman went first, showing courage, and asked the others to carefully cross with their horses. The plan was to bring the cage across last. As they were moving the cage, Kay almost fell into the deep drop below. Just then, the girl grabbed Kay's wrist and pulled him up with surprising ease. That kind of strength didn't seem normal for an ordinary girl. As soon as the cage made it across, the bridge broke apart and fell. With no other Rasta left, they had to move through the forest. A thick fog covered everything, making it hard to see. Behman decided they would wait there until the fog cleared. Hagamar, however, was ready to kill the girl, believing that if she stayed alive, none of them would survive. But Behman and Felson stopped him. Just then, the girl let out a loud howl like a wolf. Moments later, a pack of wolves began moving toward them. As the wolves got closer, Behman ordered everyone to fight, and together they managed to kill them all. Even after that, distant howls could still be heard, so they decided it was safer to leave immediately. But as they were moving, a wolf suddenly attacked Hagamar, knocking him off his horse. Within seconds, the pack surrounded him and tore him apart brutally.
These wolves didn't seem normal at all. By the next morning, the group wanted to kill the girl, thinking she was the cause of everything. The priest tried to stop them, but Behman pushed him aside. Still, the others stepped in and calmed things down, reminding everyone that they were close to their destination. The monastery wasn't far now, and they just needed a little more patience to finish what they started. Soon, they finally reached the monastery. They entered through a small opening, unlocked the main gate, and the priest led them toward the prayer hall, expecting to find other priests there. But the sickness had reached this place too. Everyone inside was already dead. Seeing this, de Belzac lost hope and began praying for mercy. Just then, Behman stopped him because one priest was still alive. The dying priest pointed toward the book and whispered God's name before taking his last breath. De Belzac picked up the book, and Behman asked if he could read the prayers from it. They stepped outside the hall to begin. At that moment, the girl admitted her true intentions. She said the church had killed her people for years, and now she wanted revenge. As the priest started reading the prayers, the girl made the wound on his hand, one she had caused earlier, grow more painful. Before Behman could stop her, she began revealing things about him that she couldn't possibly know. It became clear that she wasn't just a girl, she was something far more dangerous. Realizing this, de Belzac started reading the prayers again. This time, the demon transformed into a terrifying form. It set the cage on fire, melting the metal bars, and the demon broke free. It moved toward the priest, and no one seemed strong enough to stop it. De Belzac tried using holy water, but the demon changed into a winged creature and flew into the dark corners of the monastery, disappearing from sight. Now they had to come up with a plan to stop it. They told Kay he didn't need to fight, but he refused to step back and said he would stand his ground no matter what. Seeing his courage, Behman accepted him as a true warrior. They spread out to search for the demon, wondering why it hadn't escaped earlier during the journey. Why did it wait until reaching the monastery? Now they all knew their lives were at risk, because anyone who had tried to fight the demon before had been killed. As they moved through the place, Behman saw the effects of the plague everywhere. Dead bodies lined the Rasta. Outside, dark clouds filled the sky, and strange flying creatures began spreading out. One of them entered the body of a dead priest. Then, de Belzac noticed something important. The priests had been making multiple copies of the book filled with sacred prayers, trying to spread its words so more people could fight the evil. That's when they realized the truth. The demon wanted Solomon's book. It had pretended to be a helpless girl so it could be taken directly to anyone who had it. Suddenly, a dark voice echoed through the library.
They rushed there and saw that the girl had fully turned into a horrifying demon. It even thanked them for bringing it all the way to this place. As the priest began reading again, the demon attacked and set all the copies of the book on fire. At the same time, the bodies of the dead priests disappeared, only to rise again from the shadows. Now, under the demon's control, they attacked from every direction, some even crawling upside down on the ceiling. Belzak barely survived as the group fought to stay alive. Behman realized that the only way to stop them was to cut off their heads. Meanwhile, Belzak stayed focused on reading the prayers as the warriors defended him. Suddenly, one of the possessed priests attacked from behind. Felson killed him, but he was badly injured in the process. No one was left to protect Belzak. As he reached for the book, the demon grabbed him and snapped his neck. The priest died instantly. As the demon moved to take the book, Behman threw holy water on it. Enraged, the demon grabbed Behman by the throat and said it would erase every trace of the book. Felson attacked the demon from behind, but it trapped him within its wings and burned him to ashes. As it turned back towards Behman, Kay began reading the prayers himself, continuing the ritual. This made the demon furious, but Behman dragged it toward the wall and pinned its wings with 2 daggers so it couldn't move, giving Kay time to finish. Slowly, the demon's body began to burn and twist in flames. As it weakened, the girl's body was finally freed from the demon, the same girl who had been wrongly accused. With the demon gone, Kay rushed to Behman, but his wounds were too deep. He knew he wouldn't survive. Before dying, Behman told Kay to protect the girl no matter what, because none of this was her fault. In the end, Kay and the girl thanked the warriors for everything and said their goodbyes. They mounted their horses and rode away towards home. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.